everybody. Welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo, episode number 77. My name is Gabe Estel. I'm here with my co-hosts Dennis Levi Leach and Jonathan Getz. Aloha. How's it going, guys?
It's been a rough week.
It has been a rough week. Yeah. Certainly we'll talk about that. I want to introduce a friend of ours we've got sitting in with us tonight. Our good buddy Adam Galassi is on the horn. How are you, Adam?
Hey, friends. Fantastic. It's good to be here.
Good. Yeah, so Adam is a longtime friend of ours, fan of the podcast, and a talented filmmaker. And you can follow him on Twitter at Galassi_W. So you can follow him on the Twitter. And tonight, really, Adam's sitting in with us as a friend and a fan of a lot of the of some of the artists we're going to talk about tonight. Unfortunately, this is kind of one of those, I wish the subject was different tonight, one of those episodes, unfortunately. So as everybody, I'm sure, is aware now, about a week and a half ago, Chris Cornell of Soundgarden died, and we're going to be talking about that, as well as just yesterday, rock legend Gregg Allman passed away. So it's been a rough few days here. So and then we'll try to maybe lighten the mood a little bit at the end of the episode as well. But Adam's a big Soundgarden fan. All of us grew up listening to Soundgarden, so we're going to talk a little bit about Chris Cornell first, and his impact on our lives, and as well as our the musicians that we like, and just really all the great sounds that he created and helped create. So I guess I'll just start there. It was certainly rough news to hear, and I don't know, unexpected, certainly.
Completely.
Absolutely.
It was just a few days after I saw him live.
Right.
Here in Kansas City at the Starlight Theater on Mother's Day, so a couple Sundays ago. And then to see that just a few days later, it was hard to fathom. Yeah,
right. And I think that it happened in the middle of a tour as well, which not that it matters when something like that happens necessarily. It's always tragic. But they were in the middle of touring, and I guess that makes it seem harder to fathom, right? It's just to borrow your words. That they're still active. It wasn't like he was reclusive or anything like that.
His stage presence was great that night in Kansas City. The performance was awesome. He was kind of jovial, talking about being in Kansas City. Coming to Kansas City as a kid because his grandparents lived here, and wearing a Royals cap. And it was a stage presence I had actually not seen of him before the previous couple times I saw Soundgarden.
Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, we don't always see the demons that people are fighting. Unfortunately, so it's tragic. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch any of the footage from the last performance in Detroit.
I haven't been able to yet. For some
reason.
I'm kind of. I mean, not to sound too sensitive, but I'm not ready to see it for some reason. It's bizarre.
I could only watch a little bit of it. I watched just a little bit of one tune, and it's hard. It's hard to watch. I think, living in a day and age where pretty much every concert is recorded, essentially, and thrown up on YouTube. If this would have happened, they're both of Seattle bands, so I'll just bring it up. When this happened to Kurt Cobain, all of us kind of had to, none of us had seen Nirvana live. Like the channels of information were limited.
Kurt Loder was. Yeah,
Kurt Loder delivered the news, right?
Yeah. Right.
And now, you can watch him literally hours before he died. And that's I know what I can understand why you didn't want to watch it, because it hard for me. I only watched like half of a song.
Is it true that like in the last song he like does some of the lines from "In My Time of Dying" by Led Zeppelin?
Yes, but like Soundgarden has done that before.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
that.
Right.
I had heard that as well, but then I had heard that they tease the song pretty often in their set
Okay.
list. So I don't. I obviously
It's still just kind of spooky.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a first time that they played or teased that song. So yeah.
It wasn't until tonight actually that I've been able to listen to Soundgarden. I hadn't listened to him since he died, and I was on a full tilt run of Soundgarden. Even that night of the Detroit show, I was cranking up B-sides in the house, and to hear, because they did some funky covers, man. There's a B-sides on Apple Music. They do like "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself" and "Earache My Eye," and you can hear Chris Cornell trying not to laugh while singing Spinal Tap's what is it? Big Bottoms. Yeah. And you can hear it in his voice trying not to laugh, and yeah, it was that night of the Detroit show that we listened to that, and ever since then I hadn't been able to listen until today, and I feel like that there's maybe not a more significant death that I can recall of a musician that I so admired at a time in the context of their career, if that makes sense. And this is kind of in relation to Gregg Allman.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. It's really strange, too, because I think I saw a picture from the Kansas City show that you posted on Instagram. And I'd gotten off really late from work that night, and I saw that. And when the weather gets warmer for me, I've always just cranked up Soundgarden more. It's like a spring, summer thing for me. And I saw that picture, and I said, it's like a sin that I've never seen these guys live. And how have I never seen these guys live? It's one of those things where it's always just the timings fall through the cracks. I've tried to see them. And that night I got online. I'm trying to get my shows covered at work. And I'm like, I got to get to this Detroit show. That's the closest they're going to be. And I looked at rental cars. I looked at everything, and like nothing was falling into place at all. But I spent a good 2 hours trying to figure out how to get to Detroit. So then I was like, well, it's a fail. It's not going to happen. So then the rest of my week consisted of just like shoving Soundgarden down my ears. And so then that to happen within that week, just personally for me, it was like, what is going on? Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh my gosh. That's tough. Although really, in hindsight, would you have wanted to see that show?
Probably not. No,
Right.
I don't think I can handle that right now in my life.
That would have been a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been heavy to deal with.
But I mean, that was a big bummer for me that I never saw him live, and that was something selfishly that hit me like, whoa, which makes him more mystique to me and more of his entity, kind of like Bowie was for me too. It's just like, wow, I didn't think these people died.
Yeah, right.
It's unreal.
It's easy to go to a selfish place like when you hear about it, because like that's I never got to see David Bowie live, and he was probably atop my list. It just didn't shake out. He didn't tour that frequently, during the last really 10, 15 years of his life. But yeah, it's often, I didn't get to see him, but then I have to stop and think, oh, well, his daughter is never going to, Chris Cornell is never going to get to see him again. So,
absolutely.
I feel small, when I say something like that. But
it's always relative.
It's easy to do. Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah, there's always starving people in Africa, that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Right. It's okay to feel bad about it.
Yes.
Yeah. I in all actuality, I was kind of late to the Soundgarden game, honestly. They had always, been in my peripheral vision, obviously, of grunge and stuff at that time. But it would have been in '96 when Down on the Upside came out and Burden in My Hand. And man, just something with that song totally connected with me to where it was like, wow. And so I went back and listened, because like up until that time, I'll be honest, like my experience with Soundgarden in Chatham, Illinois was like the guys who were like Todd and Beavis and Butthead driving around listening to like Spoon Man, like in their like rusty Camaros and stuff. So like part of me was like,
I didn't know it was that popular with that demographic. All right, go on.
Yeah, that dude, like those kids went straight from like Metallica into Soundgarden and stuff. Right, it seemed like. But yeah, and so I didn't have the same appreciation for their early stuff as I did for their later stuff because I was later to the game. But just their sound and the way he could bellow, man. He just sang from his soul. You could tell, just deeper than his gut. You know what I mean? It's hard to find voices like that, and they don't come along that often. So we were just really, really lucky to experience it in our lifetime, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's something about that band, like you were saying, Levi, like thinking of the guys from Beavis and Butthead, there was something about that band that like broke down walls between groups of people. Sure. Because no matter what, like Soundgarden was cool. Like even the people who hated Pearl Jam, like loved Soundgarden. Like I work with a lot of like really professional, like Berkeley trained musicians who are pretty quick to like throw a lot of bands I like under the bus really quick. But Soundgarden to them is like this ethereal, you know, like rock genius band. And I think it's interesting that like all the genres took to them. You know, like Metallica was fans of Soundgarden. Black Sabbath was fans of Soundgarden. All the bands that influenced Soundgarden like actually liked them and dug their music. And so, I mean, so you had the Bad Kids and, you know, the good jock basketball player guys all, you know, sporting the Soundgarden shirts because it was half metal, half punk, and half like kind of feely music, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The guy could write lyrics, man. That's no doubt. And I mean, everything in hindsight, as we know, is clear, but it's like the guy wrote some deep lyrics about hard issues of life and
like suicide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's,
you know, it's just tough to, you know. Were they warning signs? Who knows? It's just he gave off such a grounded feeling when I would see him on stage or on TV.
Agreed.
Yeah.
To where that was the most shocking thing to me.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, you knew that his lyrics were coming from a really dark place, but Levi, you nailed it when, you know, he has this presence about him that is very confident. He's and subdued in a way and just like a cool customer. And you feel like he's like guys like him are like a partitioned hard drive where it's, you know, they can just switch over to this one partition of the hard drive to bring out these really dark lyrics, but then to live life from day to day, they just go to this very controlled partition that is, you know, kind of their public face, and you feel like it's just totally separate. When he needs to go to the well, he can go to the well, but it turns out that this is like a really complicated dude, and you know, looks can be very deceiving, and you just never know, and so that's what caught me off guard most of all, and I think Levi, that pretty much jives with what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, you don't see the demons that people are fighting. You know, I mean, you could sell out Soldier Field, you know, and like still be just the loneliest person on earth. You know, I mean, it really, it's. I
mean, he talked about. I just recently re-listened to an interview he did with Howard Stern back in 2011, and he did I think 2 or 3 episodes with Stern, which are great to pull up on YouTube if you get a chance, because love him or hate him, Stern really fires, like gets to the gut, you know, of the person pretty quick. He's a great interviewer, and Chris talked a lot about, you know, addiction and in and out of rehab and failed marriages and being stabbed by girlfriends, and you know. And when you really get down to the guy, like it's like a lonely soul kind of thing. Your classic, lonely soul, getting everything out on stage. And but for me, he was always kind of just like this mythical voice, like kind of like Ozzy Osbourne in a way, where you're like, where's the sound coming from? And like Robert Plant. They always had this mysticism around them, and they kind of dealt in fantasy realms and things like that. But to me, Chris Cornell was like the real deal as far as like speaking from another universe or something. Not to
shaman. It's kind of
shamanistic.
Shaman. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Not to get too deep or trippy with it, but it sounded like his voice was coming from like a Tolkien world or something.
I said, man. They say, the best singers sing from deep in their gut, man. He was singing from somewhere deeper than that. It was
right.
It was somewhere. It not like I said. It doesn't come along often, and few artists get it. So
deeper than the gut, deeper than the gut, and louder than love. So
right. Absolutely nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna switch real quick to the repertoire, and I feel like Bad Motorfinger, Super Unknown, and Down on the Upside are about as productive a 5-year span as you will find in the last 30 years of rock and roll. And this is, of course, being when one album every couple of years is more the norm now.
And there's so much diversity among the tunes on those records too.
Oh my God! I mean, for hard rock, prog, psych, ridiculous, and the songwriting that was shared throughout. Some of my favorite songs are written by the goddamn bass player. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right? Yeah.
And Matt Cameron is probably the most interesting guitarist in either Soundgarden or Pearl Jam. I said. But I mean, those 3 albums. It's ridiculous, and they're all stupid long. One's 60 minutes, one's 70 minutes, another's 65 minutes.
Down on the Upside's got like 16 tunes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, if you go like from the jump from Bad Motorfinger to Super Unknown, how much the sound changed drastically, but still had, I don't want to say balls because that's cliche, but it just had this heaviness to it, this strength to it. But it was a completely different band in a way, Bad Motorfinger was like this heavy, visceral, dragging.
Yeah.
And then Super Unknown was really psychedelic and took all these really bizarre chances. So that drastic change in from what Bad Motorfinger was 91 and Super Unknown was 94, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
That jump in those 4 years it was incredible. It was almost like a different band, but the same people. It was neat.
Yeah, they sometimes when a band gets a lot of recognition and they have more tools at their disposal for the upcoming album, production tools. I mean, it can go south, but they didn't. It like Adam had mentioned, it's even though it has a little more Super Unknown and Down on the Upside certainly have a little more of a polished sound to them. It's still got the visceral energy of the first couple of records. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, just to show how big they were, man. That Black Hole Sun video, it seemed like was on every 15 minutes on.
Oh, YouTube. It was huge with the Barbie doll roasting. Yeah. Right.
I mean, you're big when people get tired of seeing your video. It was on so much. It was crazy. They were huge.
Last week was the first time I've listened to that song in probably about 20 years because I had heard it so much that I never wanted to hear it again. And I love
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's how big they were.
But to me, that song's Jeremy or
it stops sounding like a song after a while.
Yeah. Right. So, but I listened to it for the first time in 20 years, and then obviously all these people are covering it online as well.
Yeah. Nora Jones, if you're out, did you see she's done a really good job?
That's awesome. That's an awesome version.
Yeah. Then they had in Toronto a 250 person choir sang it. It was it's quite touching. But yeah, it gave me a newfound appreciation for a song that I had unfairly written off only because it was so damn popular.
It was
like I
shoved down
said.
your throat. Yeah, it was the anthem
right?
of 1994. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody liked it. It was a prom song, man, practically. I mean, so.
Well, the funny thing about that song is Cornell said when that album came out, he said that he didn't think that song. He thought that would be like the last hit on the record at all. And he said when he wrote the lyrics to that song, he said that they don't even make sense to him. He doesn't even know what they're about. He just liked the way certain words fell together.
Sure.
So I think that's interesting that became kind of like that's their song.
That's their biggest single. Yeah, it's got to be.
It's funny you say that, Adam, because that, listening to him deliver those lyrics, you don't think twice about it because it totally fits into his style. But when you hear all these cover versions now from the past couple of weeks of people singing,
you understand the words.
These people, it's just like it's a mouthful for them, man. They're having a hard time, and you realize like the majesty that was his phrasing and his deliveries, and it's no easy feat to cover Soundgarden.
Oh no. And to me, that's like real poetry. Is somebody just like mixing some words around? They like the sounds of the words and they like the meaning of the words. They're just going to organically try to put them together into something, and that's ended up being like the anthem of the summer of 1994 for the country. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a complete crush on that song when it came out before they started playing the video, and it was just this feeling. Every once in a while, you get a crush on a song, like you can't wait to hear it every day. And and then the video came out, and I lost it. And even when I was at the concert a couple weeks ago, and they played it, I was still, every time I hear it, I try to recapture that feeling when I first heard it, and I still haven't yet, and maybe someday I will.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work outside of Soundgarden, and I guess maybe we can talk about it for a moment. I have to admit, it's work I'm less familiar with, and his solo albums are. I think he's such a strong lyricist that's what makes the solo albums enjoyable to me. Even if musically, I thought that. I don't necessarily musically I really connected with those records, but he's such a good lyricist that I was always interested in what the guy had to say, and even with Audioslave as well. And I have to admit, I never really got into Audioslave that much, but I could appreciate his lyrics. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I never really got in too heavy into Audioslave. I own the records and have listened to them from time to time, but I'm not too much of an expert on that.
I didn't realize it was basically they were all friends before that, and was it Brad Wilk was going to be the drummer in Pearl Jam at one time, and then it didn't happen, or he was going to somehow, like, him and Chris Cornell were linked before from the early days of grunge or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know much about that.
So I feel like his. Go ahead, Adam.
I know that Cornell did note that when they did the Audioslave records, that they basically just sat down and had like 3 albums worth of songs that they recorded like in one session. Like they had so many ideas, and he said it was almost like just this big explosion all at once. Like, here's Audioslave, and they somehow divided that into they have 2 or 3 records.
I think they have 3 records. Yeah,
3 records.
3.
But that was all that was all kind of done at once, he said. And then after that, he said the steam was like let out of the room, and then it got kind of businessy, and I think they had different opinions on like business and money and how things should go from there, and if they should keep going. And it was kind of like this happening that busted out for a second. So now I'm probably going to dig harder into those records and listen to them a bit more and try to. It's
a little bit of a new perspective now. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to revisit them as well. It didn't have much of an effect on me when they came out. I bought the first one, and I think I own the second one too. I'm I don't know. Excited's the wrong word because there's nothing really exciting about everything that happened. But I'm interested to just see how they sound now.
With a new perspective, for sure.
Yeah, right.
I feel like his non-Soundgarden time, so after Down on the Upside,
which was a long time
together. Yeah, I feel
17 years.
The most significant for me, the most impactful music that he created was this solo stuff that he was doing live that started to leak as a result of a bootleg from Sweden that included a cover of Billie Jean, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, and ton really interesting stuff. Peace, Love, and Understanding, Thank You, and Redemption Song.
The Thank You is amazing. Yeah.
And then the Sinead O'Connor that he later did, I think, at a radio. What's the Sinead O'Connor song?
Prince, Nothing Compares to You.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you, Prince,
Yeah.
Nothing Compares to You. And his renditions of those, I think, also made him a lot of new fans. It's a bit more accessible music than Soundgarden, and his renditions were pretty goddamn striking. So if you haven't checked those out,
he said about I think it was an interview I heard with him in like 2009 or 2010. He said that he was always kind of shied away from covers, and then one day he covered Imagine by John Lennon, and he kind of claimed that John Lennon was like his real dad growing up because his dad was kind of estranged and not there. But he said then after he covered Imagine that he opened up this world of like, wait, you know what, I can do this. I can do some covers, and it's not being contrived, and like, you know, I'm not being like an ass by doing this, and I'm just going to go for it. And I'm glad he did, because he does some amazing, and the Thank You cover that he does is unbelievable.
Yeah, there's nothing contrived about his approach to putting his own stamp on those songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's sweet to hear that he actually had some humility beforehand to like,
yeah, right.
Well, I can't do this. I shouldn't be covering these songs, and then just like the floodgates opened up for him, and yeah, it's amazing.
Good. To segue into Soundgarden's later output, being the King Animal, being the album that they released in 2011 or so. 2012, yeah. I feel like that is. It sounds like it was recorded 2 years after Down on the Upside. I feel like...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It picked up right where they left off.
They did.
That's for sure.
I think it's the most... And I was saying this before I went to that concert. I think it's the most impressive release for a band that was on hiatus for more than a decade. I think in the annals of rock history, I don't know if you can do any better than that.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's my favorite cover art of
I bet.
Yeah. It's pretty badass.
Here, I'll show it on the camera there.
Yeah. It's one of those records I can't stop staring at when I put it on and I look at the album itself, and I'm like, wow, this is great.
And music just fits the cover. The cover fits the music, I should say. It's just great, as well.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's exactly what that music sounds like.
Adam, I don't mean to rub it in, but you would have loved it on that tour, because the background, the video background on the stage was basically animated scenes of that cover.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember.
During
really?
the songs. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Does anybody ever know what the on the Super Unknown cover what that guy is? Because I always saw it as like an elf person or something.
It does look like an elf. I think it's Cornell, but it's
that's
just
what I thought too.
Like motion blurred shot.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was him. Yeah,
I think it is, but it's just super motion blurred. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, him and Andrew Wood got to give each other a big hug.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Yeah, we didn't even touch upon Temple of the Dog stuff, and I mean, I don't know if I can listen to that anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah.
Were they working on new material as well?
There was a rumor.
Temple of the Dog? Yeah.
And Soundgarden, for that matter.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Tough stuff. And then it's obviously 2017 piles it on like 2016 did as well, with yesterday losing Gregg Allman, Gosh, that's it's hard to believe that the Allman Brothers it was only one brother essentially for 50 years, almost, or well, not quite, but about 45 years.
Nearly.
Yeah, almost, yeah, about 45 years. Dwayne died 45 years ago, I think, 1972, I believe. So we lose another great vocalist, almost really while we were still grieving the previous one. So it's shitty. It sucks.
And shitty, Greg, but it feels different.
It does, yeah. He had been ill. It was one of those things where the news wasn't as surprising, but still tough nonetheless.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, and what's funny is like in an interview the Chris Robinson had done, he talked about when he met Gregg Allman.
Uh-huh.
And what I guess it was they were backstage at a show, and Warren comes in and he's like, "Oh, are you guys like the brothers from Georgia, the band?" And Chris is like, "Yeah, Chris and Rich," and they're talking, and so they're in this hallway of dressing rooms, and Gregg Allman comes out. And Warren is kind of, not like outright enthusiastic, but like, "Hey, man, Greg, these are those guys from Georgia, the brothers, the Black Crowes." And Gregg Allman, all he did was turn and look at him and said, "Who gives a shit?" And he kept walking. So yeah, whatever you think about Chris Robinson, he's got a really good Gregg Allman story. Yeah.
Well, if you read up, Greg, listen, a flawed guy, all right?
I'm no angel, man.
All right, yeah, he made it clear. Yeah. It's just, for Greg, it was all part of the story, Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's like the Sam Elliott of fucking rock and roll.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, don't fall in love, girls, with Greg, all right? Yes, yeah. I mean, I would say Cher couldn't tame him, so hell. Yeah.
I had to go back and listen to one of my favorite songs of theirs that you don't often hear a lot, and it was kind of on the album I have is just called Dwayne and Gregg Allman, and it's black and white, and it's just kind of like a etching of them. It's like a drawing of their faces, and it's their version of the Morning Dew. They do an excellent version of it. Walk Me Out in the Morning Dew.
Oh, I've heard.
It's on the Dreams box set as well.
Yeah.
You guys got it? What's your favorite Allman song off the top of your head? If you had to pick one.
I'll go with, I know one, and it's an unlikely one. I like Wasted Words a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a great song.
I know it's it's I like the lyrics, it's just total Greg, Don't fall in love, ladies, Greg.
Dude, yeah. I'll let you guys think about it, Jonathan and Adam.
I've got mine.
Okay. Well, I was going to piggyback on Gabe's comment for a second. The guy could write some lyrics, man, and to think, he wrote whipping posts when he was 18 or 19 or something like that, and
ridiculous.
It's considered one of the greatest blues songs of all time, and where does that come from? You know what I mean?
He had the blues, and let's be honest, a lot of white guys don't have it. Not to drag that into it, but he did. You know what I mean? He was. I don't want to say he's innate, he's almost born with it though.
Right? Yeah. That comes from somewhere else,
Yeah.
For sure.
I bet there were many an elder blues statesman who were kicking themselves saying, "I should have written that goddamn song" when they heard Whipping Post.
Right.
That should have been me, but it wasn't. It was Gregg Allman. Mine, I would say a Librera in A minor off of Vita Peach.
Oh, nice.
I am a sucker for the Allman Brothers instrumentals in memory of Elizabeth Reed. Slays me every time I hear it. I don't get tired of it, even though they almost play it every show. But yeah, Librera in A minor, energy behind it, the ups and downs of it, cuts right through me. Little Martha, Jesus Christ, don't Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, you mentioned Whipping Post, and that always stuck out to me as like that should just be the Blues Hall of Fame as a song that has existed since since the start of America, kind of thing.
Right? Yeah. It's one of those songs that's instant classic.
Yeah, it seems like it should be a cover, but it's not. It's like that.
Right.
That song should have been written in like 1932.
Right.
But also, like a love song like Melissa, which love songs are they're everywhere, and they got to be so hard to write. I mean, I'm not a songwriter, but at what point do you go this isn't over the top, this isn't cheesy? Like going back to Chris Cornell, he said when he wrote love songs, he would think of a girl, but he would write the love song to God to make it more like visceral and real for the audience, instead of just honing in on one person, a female. So Melissa to me is just like, it gets me. It blows me over the top. It's too much.
Apparently that was the song that he played at Dwayne's funeral because it was Dwayne's favorite song.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, like Gregg Allman was the voice of, if we're going to categorize it, Southern rock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Am I not wrong?
No, because for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every other band. I mean, you had like bands like CCR that were from the San Francisco Bay Area singing songs about catfish in the Mississippi River. Like I love CCR, don't get me wrong, but these guys weren't catfishing. They didn't have their toes in the river. But,
right.
Gregg Allman was down in like Macon, Georgia, like catching turtles and shit, like writing songs about girls he loved. He was like the real deal,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I thought it was remarkable how, sure, it was the Allman Brothers Band, and Dwayne dies just a couple years after they're established, and then they really hit it big after he dies. But Gregg was always kind of, he's placed off center. Dickie Betts was in there as well. And so it was this energy that, his name was on the marquee, but he was this low-key front man at the same time who just facilitated this talent all around him. And it happened in the 70s, and then it happened when they were rejuvenated again in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a good rebirth, when Warren Haynes and Alan Woody came on board.
I mean, part of that is also, just the fate and luck of it all. You know what I mean? Just to get those two guys to be in your band, and at the time, David Allan Coe was who Warren Haynes had been playing with, I think, and Alan Woody was kind of relatively, he wasn't like a super well-known touring bassist or anything. You know what I mean?
Try out for the Allmans.
Yeah, and so.
Oh wow!
He it all worked out really well in the end, but it was a leap of faith for sure.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I love the Allmans, but they went through some rough years. They've got some albums that aren't very good.
Oh yeah, Win, Lose or Draw, I can't really listen too much.
Yeah, and I'm wearing the T-shirt right now, but Brothers of the Road isn't any good really either. It's. So yeah, I mean, they certainly had a few rough patches, but you know what? Gregg let us know that life is kind of rough. they ain't all diamonds, Adam. You know what I mean, bud?
Well, and what's crazy? I just about 6 months ago worked for his son, Michael Allman, and there was this Allman Brothers tribute band that plays in Colorado called My Blue Sky, and they paid for him to come in and sing 10 songs with them on a show. They rented the theater that I work at, one of them, and brought him in and created the show. Michael Allman of Gregg Allman's son with My Blue Sky, one night only type of thing. And it was cool and it was crazy because he looked exactly like him.
Wow.
The long straight blonde hair, the mustache goatee, the kind of craggly face, and it was kind of surreal, to hear him, because he at times he did sound a little bit like his dad, and so it was surreal looking back on it now, obviously, and it was a unique thing to be that close to an Allman.
Yeah,
I was running
that's
monitors.
cool.
I was on like the side of the stage.
Yeah, but none of us got to see Gregg with the Allmans, right? Because he split in what, like 93 or 94?
No, I got to. I
No,
saw
no,
him like
he was-
98
No,
or 9. I saw him.
No, they carried on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he the only time they weren't really playing regularly up until a few years ago was like in the the 80s, basically. Like they yeah, he was like when he did like I'm No Angel, like that was, the Allmans Allmans weren't together at that time.
He was doing his little Don Henley thing at the time.
Yeah, totally, little MTV. Yeah, yeah. So the kind of lost in the cocaine decade.
Yeah, just a quick little story, just because I know, we grew up with the Allman Brothers. I think, Gabe, you got me into the Allman Brothers when I was in high school. I didn't really know much about them. But there are, this generation of older guys, that, as teenagers, in the 70s and 80s, just grew up on the Allmans. And I talked to one of those guys recently, this old friend of mine, and I actually broke the news to him that Gregg Allman died. And I guess it was a little heavier than I thought it was going to be for him. And he kind of sat back and he was like, wow, man. He goes, you know what we used to say when we were teenagers is if you're ever having a really bad acid trip, the best thing to do is get a 6-pack of Budweiser and put on the Allman Brothers. That saved your life.
Words to live by.
And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Really? He's like, you've never heard that before?
No. And I feel wiser now that I have.
There's only, guys, this is a rib shop, but there's only one way out of a bad trip, I guess. Huh? I'll be here all week. Try the veal, all right? So.
Adam, it's funny you mentioned that Gabe introduced you, because I feel like when I think of, for some reason, when I think of Ramblin' Man, I think of hearing it in your basement. I don't know if it was on a soundtrack or something that you would maybe play or what, but
no, I know.
Yeah, I definitely.
It was on a compilation album. Yeah.
My first experience would have been in a black Ford Escort with the Decade of Hits album.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's the one that it looks like a jean jacket.
That was was a Columbia House. That was a Columbia House for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan, I think what you were hearing was it was like a best of whatever year. It was like a Time Life collection.
That's what it was. It was Time Life. Yeah. Yes.
They made some good comps, Time Life, on a side note.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in all seriousness, though, the Allman Brothers, at this time when we were really, at least when I was really getting into music in 91, 92, 93, so I was, just becoming a teenager, and it was Pearl Jam, A Temple of the Dog, and Soundgarden, then the Allman Brothers kind of presented this very, this throwback, not just a throwback sound, but this more peaceful sound in a way. Obviously, Gregg was singing about some pretty intense relationships, if you will, but it was just a bit more laid back, and the Allman Brothers were kind of the introduction of that for me.
Yeah.
I will always associate mushrooms with them. Not
you're.
I wasn't going to say that, but
not just because it was like logos. All their logos were mushrooms, but I would have probably listened to them a lot when I was on mushrooms. So
it was definitely a sound that just brought you back to something nice, like to the womb or something within
right.
Yeah, within confusing times of the youth. Put on some Allman Brothers, like the guy said. 6-pack of Budweiser in the Allman. You're fine.
Yeah.
Also, what I like about them too is they were steeped in blues, as we mentioned, and people often think of them as the architects of Southern rock, but they were very well versed in jazz as well, which obviously came out in their live show, certainly. But I always appreciated that because I like a lot of other Southern rock bands, but I think a lot of them kind of lacked.
Them and Marshall Tucker Band definitely had a jazzy type of side to themselves.
Right.
And that's why the Allman Brothers Band, almost with every album, it seems like they would win a Grammy for Best Instrumental. Every album they would put an instrumental on it, and they would win a Grammy for that song.
I always felt like John Coltrane was like always the unlisted member of the Allman Brothers Band.
Nice. Nice.
But I'm not rock historians like you guys or anything. But wouldn't you say like the Dead and the Allman Brothers are pretty much like the ladder for the jam band scene? Like why that kind of happened in a way?
I think
why
so.
It's still
Yeah,
today.
definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt. Especially because they paved the way for Skinner, Marshall Tucker, and at least on the Allman Brothers side.
Yeah, I can say I actually, kind of a rarity, I saw an Allman Brothers show, would have been in 1998 or 1999, that had Warren and Woody and Dickie and Derek.
What?
Derek was
No.
like 16 or 17. Yeah, I swear. I saw Dickie and Derek at the same show. I'll have to look it up. It would have been 1998 or 1999. It would have been in St. Louis. And at one time I had a bootleg of it. And the only thing I can remember about it was at the beginning. Why is it at the beginning on bootleg shows there's always like a rambunctious guy, but he's like, NASCAR rocks St. Louis. Are you ready for the Allman Brothers?
Yeah.
Like, that's all I remember from the bootleg.
Yeah. Sorry, guy. I never really associated that with them.
Right?
Get this guy off the fucking stage. Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I don't. Maybe you can think of NASCAR when you think of the Allman Brothers, but not me.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. It's mushrooms and John Coltrane here. Yeah. So.
Here's a question for you guys, just because, like I said, I'm not like a rock historian, but like the Allman Brothers, were they influential on bands that then came out later? Say like, like in our day, like Pearl Jam influenced
Black
a lot
Crowes.
of bands.
Undoubtedly.
Right, Black Crowes, but like even earlier than that, like Pure Prairie League, and I just always thought it was odd that Pure Prairie League had this beautiful song called, was it Amy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and it just seems so much like Melissa, and it's like, okay, were the Allman Brothers really stretching themselves? Did they create this kind of Southern rock scene in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were the first recognized Southern rock band, like the ones that people applied the term to. With Amy, that would have been, I mean, the Allmans would have been, I think Amy's from like 72, 73, and the Allmans were kind of at the height of their powers then. So I assume Pure Prairie League probably liked them, but I'm not sure how, how directly it influenced it. I don't know, maybe, but yeah, they were around the same time though. So
I'm going to assume without the Allman Brothers, you aren't going to have a lot of those Southern country hits stylings of the 70s.
Well, and the twin guitars thing.
Yeah, sure.
I think they help pioneer the twin lead harmony type.
Absolutely.
Guitar.
And Gregg would just like lay back and be on his organ, and then they would throw it over to Gregg, and all of a sudden Gregg Allman's back leading the Allman Brothers Band, and they would just throw it over to all the other guys. Jesus.
He was so laid back, he put out an album called Laid Back.
It was
right. Right. I mean, literally, he's laid back. He had an album that was called Laid Back. Right? I don't know about literally. I don't know how, if he was reclining a lot, But, I caught myself
by Lazy
there.
Boy.
Literally, mentally.
I caught myself there. I always, it's my pet peeve when people misuse literally,
But in a mental sense.
Right. So I want to be careful. But anyway, so, well, cool. Well, we're going to get to a portion of the show now. First of all, thank you, Chris and Gregg, for everything you gave us. And this part, we haven't done this in a while, actually. This is a part of the show called Show Your Cards, where we talk about baseball cards and cards that they don't have to necessarily be about baseball, but card collectibles that we like that are important to us or unique in some way. So we're excited to have Adam on the show tonight to take part of that as well. So why don't, Adam, since you're our guest, why don't you start? What card do you have?
And guys, I just texted this to you so you can see it at the same time.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, I've been a collector of movie cards since I can remember. I also collected baseball cards when I was young. I was always in search of the Dave Justice rookie and all that for some reason. But,
which would have been appropriate for Atlanta Braves and Gregg Allman tonight.
Hey, dude, I'm sitting on like 5 of them, Adam. I'll cut you a deal on one of them. All right. So
Upper Deck 91.
Yeah.
No, but I guess another coincidence, in honor of your 77th episode, we're going to go back to the year 1977 and look at the
well done,
the Star Wars Topps card, card number 207 in the I think it was the 4th series. And what you have here is the infamous Goldenrod card, C3PO. And there's a lot of speculation on what happened with this card. The guy that was in charge of making all these cards said that the scene was really rushed when they were making these. Like Lucas wanted, Lucas is the marketing king of movie history. He created movie marketing, basically. He wanted these cards out fast, and they did it really fast. And rumor has it that this shot was taken on set, and something was falling off of Anthony Daniels, who portrayed C-3PO. Like a bit of his costume was falling off, and it just caught the light, right? And it makes him look like as a penis.
Yeah. He's got a rage there.
As you can see there. Yeah.
Wow.
So the card was found by many children in 1970, many feathered-haired children in 1977, and letters were written to Topps, and they completely discontinued the card and immediately went back to the printing room and touched it up. And but this isn't necessarily a rare card. It is going for like $100 on eBay. But strangely enough, the card that was photoshopped that looks normal, that looks like our friend C-3PO that we grew up with, is worth more than the actual Goldenrod card itself.
Wow.
And for some reason, I have 3 of each of these cards.
Holy shit!
And I don't know how I've accumulated them over the years, but I thought it was an interesting story. There was a Reddit thread at one point where some guy claimed he worked at Topps at the time, and it was a couple stoner guys that actually played a trick and said, like, let's, put a penis on him and stuff. Nobody knows the real story, and that's what's interesting about the card.
It just adds to the mystique of the card, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, from the looks of it, there's no lonely nights on Tatooine.
You know what I mean? That's right. That's when he was taking his oil bath. Remember the oil bath?
Right. Hey, a robot's got to do what a robot's got to do. All right, seriously.
A little bit too much blue milk. Got a little excited. Moisture Farms.
Do they put his dimensions on the back or what?
No, you know what's on the back of those cards back then they used to do was I think there was like 300 in each set, and then you would put the cards together on the back, and it would create this giant poster puzzle of something.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And so it's like somebody's eyebrow or something on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing your card.
That's
absolutely.
That's a great one.
Happy 40th anniversary, Star Wars.
Right? Sure.
They'll never live this down. There's a pun in there somewhere. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
So are we going to do Seattle or Atlanta?
Yeah, sure.
So the rest of us will do either baseball cards from Seattle or Atlanta in honor of Chris Cornell or Gregg Allman.
Right. Yeah, well, I'll go. I've got a Seattle card from I hands down the most famous player in Mariners history. Yeah, and guys, I just wanted to let you know I did try to get a hold of Mark Langston, and he doesn't have a social media presence. I emailed the Angels radio because he's an Angels broadcaster now, but I wanted to let you know I tried. All right, so Langston, if you're listening, we're all ears. All right, come on the show. Anyway, so this right here is
put it in front of your face, Gabe.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, no, put it right in front of your face. Center it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go. So this is I had kind of forgotten about these cards. This is a 1999
Score.
Yeah, or actually, it's a 91 score. It's a 91 score, documenting the year 1990 in baseball. And these are the Score All-Star cards from that year. And they're, the caricature style, which I always liked on T-shirts. This would have been 91. This is, in my opinion, even though I like this card, it's kind of when baseball cards started to go a little downhill. And I say that just because there were too many specialized cards and inserts and
subsets.
Subsets. Baseball cards started to try to do too much around this time, 1991 ish, and 3 years later, baseball cards are basically dead.
So this was a gateway card, is what you're saying.
This is a gateway card, yeah, kind of beginning of the end. The market just collapsed a few years later, and I think a lot of it has to do with things like this, But yeah, I do like these cards, though, and I was always partial to Score. I always thought they were kind of an underrated brand.
I would tend to buy them over Fleer. Like if I was at a pack, like I would usually buy a pack of Tops, and then if I had money left over, I would be like, Fleer or Score, and I would usually go Score.
Yeah, I mean Upper Deck's, the belle of the ball,
Right.
But,
well, yeah.
That's if your daddy wore bucks. Weren't Scores a little bit cheaper, maybe like 10 cents cheaper?
Yeah,
They
Scores
might have
and
been.
Fleer
Scores were cheaper.
Yeah. Okay.
Scores. What I'm trying to say is Scores deserve more respect. All right.
Right. Hey.
So yeah, this is my King Griffey Jr. 1991 All-Star scorecard.
Nice.
So
nice.
That's my.
Well done.
Your Seattle, yeah. Well, my Seattle card is a 1993 Topps Stadium Club Randy Johnson.
Whoa.
And it's on,
son of a bitch.
He's got a broken, like a bat that is snapped in half with like a ball jammed in between it in his hands.
That's pretty cool.
And he's given a mean look at the patented mean Randy Johnson look. But what was so great about these cards was in 1993, they had foil on them, which was flashy. That was kind of new at the time. And then, I don't know if you remember, but the Topps Stadium Club, the packs always had Kodak logos on them. They were like sponsored by Kodak, and it was like the photos are really and the photos are really crisp, like the definition of them and stuff.
And they smelled like Kodak photos.
Yeah, there you go.
See, that's when it started to go downhill, when cards started to smell. All right.
Like anything other than
seriously.
Yeah. Oh man, well, that's cool, and I don't think I've ever seen that one. I like that.
Nice. So what's your card?
I'm gonna go back to the good old days of cards, and this is a 1986 Topps update. Danny Tartable.
Nice. Good looking Danny Tartable.
Good looking Danny Tartable. I'm assuming this is spring training. He has the Mariners Trident cap on his cap, and the cap has the fishnet back, so that makes me think it was spring training. I mean, most baseball card photos are taken during spring training, and he has that pullover top on. But that Trident logo of the Mariners in the 80s is just something to behold. Later this year, he would, I believe, join the Royals. But this is Danny Tartable's, essentially his rookie card.
Is that a Topps traded, you said?
Yeah, Topps traded.
Nice. So it's got like the bright pink back?
It does have the bright pink back, yes.
Yes.
Yep. So Danny Tartable.
That's gonna help me when I'm 80 that I know that. I'm gonna do real quick my Atlanta card. It's from one of the most printed series of cards of all time, 1990 Donruss. But it's John Smoltz just mugging. I love it. When I think of John Smoltz, I think of this card always. And it's got the MVP logos in the background, which I don't know how many packs of these I bought, but I probably ended up with like 40 of these John Schmaltz rookies. Or not rookies, MVP cards, I mean.
Yeah, I was just leaning in, actually, like realizing you're not here. That's not going to make me see the card better. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, yeah, right. There you go. I go, wait a minute, Gabe. What are you doing? Oh, okay. He's a mustachioed gentleman.
Yeah, a mustachioed John Smoltz.
Jesus, yeah.
He's young, yeah.
Tom Selleck, Jesus.
Definitely tell it's like a batting practice warm-up jersey. It's like the real dark Braves jerseys.
Yeah, I want to see more mustaches back in baseball. Because, like, if somebody's wearing a mustache now, it's like some ironic asshole, you know? Like, oh, look at my mustache, you know? Like,
yeah, like you lost a bet.
It's like, no, I want, like, a real, like, hey, I really want a mustache. Like, I'm not...
Wax
yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, I've earned this mustache.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like,
a dad stash, right?
I'm not talking, like, you know, like, guy, like, you know, like making craft beer in Brooklyn. Yeah, that guy's got a mustache, all right? But I'm not talking about like that kind of mustache. I'm talking like a Tom Selleck mustache, right? That's what I want to see.
well, my brave card, sorry to disappoint, is a guy who probably I don't know if I've ever seen him with stubble, let alone fully grown facial hair. It's a 1982 Topps Dale Murphy. And you can see there he's a clean-shaven, little sprightly, major 6-year veteran major leaguer.
That's when they still had just like the white logo with the A, right?
Yeah, this is the awesome lowercase cursive A.
It's a good-looking hat.
It's an awesome hat, yeah. But Dale Murphy, who has a good Twitter presence. If you're on Twitter, go follow Dale Murphy. He's
well, he was on our friends podcast too.
Oh, Ricky Cobb's, Super 70 Sports. Yeah. Adam, if you ever get a chance, a guy that was on our show, 70 Sports, at 70 Sports, give him a follow on Twitter, our buddy Ricky. It's some of the best. Even if you like, you know, you're not like an ardent sports fan, like he just nails it, dude. It's all 70s. Cool. It's all 70s sports photos. He's great. He just had a nice retweet by Tabitha Soren, actually.
Oh, right. Dude, you know what? And not to talk about here. You know who he just interviewed for his podcast? Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's going to be on his podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Way to go.
Very cool. That's awesome. I'll check that out. That's cool. Can I go back to Jonathan's card for a minute?
Yeah.
Card?
Yeah.
You said that was in 1996?
86.
Mine was in 86.
Oh, 86. I was like, 96. That threw me off. I was like, you weren't 16 collecting baseball cards unless you were hiding it from us.
Was it? No, I would admit that. I think my collecting curtailed right around the time I got my first serious girlfriend, which was about 1993. And there's a very definitive line there between collecting baseball cards and then collecting girlfriends. Not collecting girlfriends, but...
collecting girlfriends? Listen to you. Jesus.
P-I-M-P.
This harem down on Jackson Street. Jesus.
You can tell when a person's lost their virginity is when this is the last year of their baseball card collection.
Right.
Hey, Adam, my mom listens to this show.
Hi, Sherry. Okay, I just thought you said 96, and I just wanted to clear that up.
Yes.
I didn't want any secrets between us.
I'll admit to 93 and no later.
Yeah. I didn't start collecting baseball cards till I was about 13, and I only collected them for like 2 years, and that was it. And it was all like a business deal. Like, I wasn't really into the players. I had like the almanac, and I was like, I'm going to make some money.
Yeah.
It was a forebearer of things to come. I don't know.
Adam, I just wanted to let you know, if you had banked on an early retirement, get a plan B, because unfortunately they're not worth anything now.
Move on. Yeah.
Right.
They're worth nothing.
Yeah,
like junior rookie.
Yeah. After we started stop collecting them around 93, I'm not kidding, the whole market just collapsed. Just kids.
Yeah, that seemed to be what happened. Yeah.
Kids stopped collecting them. Like, they had too many brands, they'd oversaturated as well.
Yeah. They started getting more and more. They're like $5 a pack.
Yeah, they started getting more expensive, and it's just, the whole thing just fell apart. So
right.
It was beautiful lot less.
They killed it?
What's that?
Yeah, it was. We've discussed on this show.
Kind of killed it, right?
Upper Deck, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to backtrack.
No, but Upper Deck was the cream of the crop for cards. I mean, they were gorgeous cards. They were revolutionary in baseball cards. And just the photos were gorgeous, front and back photos. But yeah, you're right that it was kind of. It was also kind of the end of the party too. It was the peak. And then the come down was pretty fierce afterwards.
They were the first tamper-proof packs.
Right.
Up until that time,
but a lot of
wax packs.
A lot of those businesses went on because I mean, like Pokemon got huge after that, right? And that was a huge card thing.
Yeah. I mean, or Magic the Gathering, stuff like that. But
right,
it just kind of became collectible shops, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's how it ended up being. Like, you know, in '93 or maybe '94, I might have bought one of my last packs. It was like you had to go to the comic book store where the guy mainly cared about comic books and Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
And he just had like a couple of boxes of packs, and he's like, take it or leave it, kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, you had like you conjured up an image of like a guy with a cigar, like take it or leave it.
He's like, you don't need any Magic the Gathering. That's what the kids are playing now. Baseball cards are dead, kid.
He puts out his cigar on Levi's like 12-year-old hand, you know.
I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. We need to show our cards more often, I think.
We do. Well, Adam, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight, man. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it was an honor. It was a pleasure. So fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody can follow Adam on the Twitter at Galassi _W.
Adam, you got any movies you want to plug?
Yeah, we're just wrapping up a movie right now that we've been kind of working on the past 2 years called The No.
Right.
And I'll put updates on my Twitter for that movie, and you can also follow on Facebook. The No has a page on there with updates, and we're at the bottom of the editing right now, and it's all coming together. And July 1st is our date, so there'll be screens and film festivals and everything. So yeah,
cool,
nice.
Look forward to it. No, I like it. I think markets itself easily too. You know, get in the know, Adam. Jeez, you know, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's a radio handle. It's KNOW The No.
There we go. Even better. Well, good. We're excited about that. Thanks for sharing. You can everybody out there, you can follow us on the Twitter and the Instagram at RockinChew. That's Rockin as in
nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Allman Brothers.
Nobody knows. There we go.
Yeah.
Every week, every episode I say, I always forget what I'm going to say during that part for the end. But anyway, you can follow us on RockinChew on Twitter and Instagram, like us on Facebook, and one of the most important things you could do is give us a review on iTunes, because that would help the podcast's visibility, get some other folks out there listening to us. But yeah, however you listen to us, leave us a rating. And we'd love to hear from you. And until next time, we'll see you for episode number 78. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Peace.